Welcome back. The CUNY Comeback Initiative will eliminate up to $125 million in unpaid debt for at least 50,000 students. The forgiveness program is believed to be the largest of its kind. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Interim Executive Vice Chancellor of CUNY, Daniel Lemons. Welcome, EVC Lemons. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
Of course. So we have some exciting news to share. As people may know already, the CUNY Comeback Initiative was just launched. Can you tell us about this program?
So this program is, first of all, it's the largest of its kind in the country. We think maybe ever. It's a $125 million program that we have launched, knowing that over the course of the pandemic, many CUNY students have had a very, very tough time. They've been not only affected by the disease itself, by the pandemic, either themselves having to deal with it or having close friends and family that have been affected by it. But of course, all the financial fallout, which has fallen very heavily on CUNY students. We know from early surveys that more than 40% of CUNY students, and as you know, CUNY students mostly work to support themselves while they're studying, and about 40% of those students lost their jobs early on in the pandemic. So there's been huge financial stress on students, and that has made it difficult for them to stay enrolled. It's made it difficult for them to pay the tuition and fees that they pay. So what has meant for a number is that they really couldn't do that. And then, of course, if you can't pay your tuition and fees, it becomes a block for enrolling for a following term. And so we knew that it was many students. We think it's 50, but actually I think it's now turning out to be probably more than 50,000, maybe more like 60,000 students that are in that situation from one of the terms since the spring of 2020. So this program, what it will do is for all those students is just completely wipe out anything that's owed to the university in a tuition or fee during that time. We're doing that for many students just happening automatically because we can identify those students and we know they're eligible, and that will happen. Other students who may not have that happen automatically will then just apply, and we will be able to arrange that. So it's a very, very big program, and we've worked really hard to put it in place.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And let's break down the eligibility, EVC Lemon. So who exactly is eligible? I know a lot of CUNY students are probably tuned in and saying, does this apply to me? And they're not sure.
So it applies to all CUNY students. And the times over which it applies are starting spring term 2020. So every term from spring term 2020 through the spring semester of 2021. That's the one that we just finished before the summer. So it's over the course of those terms, including the summer sessions. And so any student who has an outstanding fee or outstanding tuition bill with the university is eligible. And as I mentioned, most of those, we think many of them will be automatically taken care of because we can identify them without them needing to do anything. But all students will be informed and will be told that they can do that. And this also, by the way, includes graduates, students who've already graduated. I think that's very important to note because, of course, quite a few students have graduated, but may still have an outstanding balance. And in the past, that would interfere, for instance, with getting a transcript sent. So that then it becomes difficult to apply for a job or to apply to graduate school or so on.
Thank you so much for distinguishing that. So where are the funds coming from?
These are coming from federal stimulus funds. You know, there were 3 federal stimulus bills that had funding in it for higher education. And they all have gone into something called the Higher Education Relief Fund, HERF. And so there's HERF 1, 2, and 3. So the first bill, CARES Act was the first one. Then we've abbreviated the next one, CRISA. And the last one, which passed most recently, was the ARPA. And so each of these 3 had funding for higher education. Actually, there was more funding in each of the subsequent bills. So substantial funding for higher education. And CUNY serving students who identified by the U.S. Department of Education as being the ones who should receive the bulk of these funds. CUNY is receiving substantial amount of funding. Also should point out that in each of those fundings, HERF 1, 2, and 3, there is a large amount of funding that was designated to go directly to students. So we've already distributed 118 million in the first fund, 118 million in the second, and in this coming fall, and then in the following spring of 2022, there will also be even more funding that will go directly to students. That's separate from what we're talking about today, which is this taking care of fees and tuition that's owed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad to share that I am a CUNY alum. I went to
Great.
CCNY in Harlem, and I absolutely love the CUNY system. It's a very affordable system as is. So this is incredible news, EVC Lemons. Is the CUNY Comeback a one-time fund, or will it be an ongoing, on-rolling initiative?
It is a one-time fund, which has been based on federal funding. However, one of the things that the Biden administration has really been supporting and pushing for, and we're really hoping will happen, is greater funding relief through further federal funding for students. And this would be dealing with student loans that are to either private or public lenders. And so that's a separate category. And what the Biden administration is proposing is that students who meet the eligibility requirements, which would be based on income of their families, those students would also receive, and this could even be more substantial if it were to pass than what we're able to do right now. But for now, yes, this is one-time funding. We don't have any indication that there's going to be any subsequent funding like this. The stimulus packages, given the economy has swung back around, although unfortunately not for a lot of our students and their families, but at least not yet.
What is the average student debt balance for a CUNY student that is now being erased through this program?
That's a great question, and I actually don't have that number in front of me. It's going to range quite a bit, actually. And for some students, it will be a matter of a few $100s. We know for some, though, it will be significantly more than that, well over 1,000. But I can't really give you the range. I haven't seen that range. The great thing is that we have the funding. Having analyzed this, we know we have the funding that will handle all of those students over whatever that range is.
Wonderful news. So EVC Lemons, I understand that COVID-19 has also affected enrollment and current and former CUNY students. Can you tell me a little bit about this impact that the pandemic has had on enrollment and what CUNY's hopes are for a comeback through this initiative in particular?
Well, one, we're really hoping this will help students to enroll who had maybe thought they couldn't because they had a block and were unable to because of unpaid fees. So we think that's going to help quite a few students. We also hope that students will be aware that if they enroll in the fall, they will be eligible also, and they will receive this other direct funding to them, which I mentioned already. So I think that's going to be very important too for a lot of students to realize that in addition to taking care of these fees that are owed, they will actually get more direct support. And I can tell you that in the previous allocations that we were able to make directly to students, the average was around $500 to $600 per student. Mm-hmm. Some students, though, got more. That was really what the amount they received was based on an analysis of their need, Pell status, but also dependents that they may have and so on. So it varied according to assessment of needs. Some students got over $1,000. What will be sent out in the fall will be larger than that. So I don't know what the average is going to be, but it's going to be significantly larger. Could be as much as 25, 30, 40% more. So I think also that will help students because we know that it's not just tuition and fees that students face. It's like just the basic necessities of life, right? Food, housing, transportation, these are the key things. And so this direct funding will help. So all that is to say, we know the financial piece will help students enroll who might not have been able to. And we know, the colleges that have been most impacted on enrollment are community colleges. And community colleges also have the population of CUNY students that have been the most impacted by the financial outcome from the pandemic. So it's disproportionately with community college students. And we know that's part of why we're seeing the drop in enrollment in community colleges. So again, we hope that this financial assistance will help a number of those students, and they'll realize that they really can come back to school. And we really think that's so important for them, because for students who are in community colleges or in our four-year or senior colleges, moving ahead on getting a degree is the key. We know that is the key. And it's tough in the short term, but we really are encouraging students, if they can possibly do it, to enroll, because we know in the long term, even in the short term, that's going to be the best for them.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely enroll in CUNY. Take
Absolutely.
it from me. Again, like I shared, I'm a proud CUNY alum. I went to BMCC, Borough Manhattan Community College, and then after that, City College of New York, and that's how I got where I am today, through CUNY, right? So EVC Lemons, I wanted to just get clarification on one thing. Do students have to prove financial impact, or the fact that they lost a job or something, in order to qualify for this program?
So as I mentioned, there are a lot of students, I would say probably half or more, will automatically get this because they're Pell recipients, and they're in our system. We can identify them readily. And so they automatically get this. Other students who may not meet those automatic criteria then are encouraged to apply. Those students will fill out a FAFSA, which documents need. And so that's how they will become eligible. But every student's going to get something. That's one thing that we've really tried to do with this program, is make sure that every student will get something.
Wonderful. How can we get more information about the CUNY Comeback Initiative?
So we've got a really great website set up that tells about it. It's cuny.edu/comeback. So it's really easy. Just remember comeback, tack it on the end of cuny.edu. And that is a really full set of information about who's eligible, how you apply. Lots of questions are answered on that website. So yeah, I encourage every CUNY student to go there and have a look. And you'll understand, if you're not sure about eligibility or how you're going to access this, you'll find out on that site.
Thank you so much, Interim Executive Vice Chancellor Lemons, for joining us today and sharing more about this incredible initiative.
Great to talk to you, and great to talk to a CCNY alumnus.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more Open BXRX Tuesday right after this.